Hey guys, how's it going? Just want to give a little update. I feel like I haven't really uploaded anything for a little bit, even though I've been wanting to, but I have taken up an extra day at work every week. It's going to be like that until I help with UPS again at the end of November, so I'm a little bit extra busier now, but, it's not really an excuse, but it's just a fact, and I read through all Acts. I did that, and I would like to go over specifically verses that I had questions on, or just some of the interesting verses. And I've put it on the website, exceptyoubeconverted.com. You can go to verse by verse, and I have Acts. Every chapter of Acts is on there. Not with commentary yet, but that's the plan, is to go through there. And I was looking at Romans 11 and then jumped to Acts, and so I don't know what I'm going to do right now. Just going all over the place. And today I just kind of cleaned out my study room, like kind of my desk area, because I get interested in different topics. I have all these articles printed out, and I'll pull them out and I'll look at them, and sometimes I'll talk about them and go over them. And I have books that I'll pull out and I'll be reading through. And it kind of just piles up on my desk after a while, and then it gets to where it's just kind of like a mess, and I'm not like looking at any of it anymore. It's just collecting dust. And then so I kind of cleaned up today and put stuff back so I can kind of start over again, start pulling stuff out and see where I'm going to go now. I'm also interested in reading that Always Ready book that has to do with apologetics and evangelizing. And I'm still listening to a lot of stuff. I was listening to Steven Anderson today talk about Calvinism, even though I say how wrong he is on so many things. And but I still listen to him and Brian Denlinger and everybody else that I talk about. Obviously, I keep up on them, and they're interesting people. But I guess there's a kind of a controversy with Steven Anderson because he's making a video to where he's aligned himself with some Calvinist preacher, and a lot of people thought, well, didn't he preach against Calvinism? And he says, well, this Calvinist uses the King James Bible, and he likes to go soul winning or whatever. And he's like, just the fact that he wants to do anything with Steven Anderson, which so many people are against Steven Anderson, that he thinks it's phenomenal that if anybody wants to go along with him, then it's fine or whatever. And I know there's a lot of people that have different views. People have different views on Calvinism, and I've stated mine. And I don't think that I could take the stance where Steven Anderson does, really, where, I don't want to be a hypocrite, because there were people before that I've talked to, that became Calvinists, and I love them. And, I still want to believe, that they're saved and everything. But on the other hand, Calvinism is really bad to me. And Steven Anderson kind of brushes it off a little bit, how, he's wrong about predestination and stuff. But I've said that, it's about the character of God, too. I mean, there's a whole lot with Calvinism that's so backwards and wrong that it's really hard for me to accept that with anybody. And and a lot of Calvinists like to be contentious as well, and I like to be contentious with them because I don't agree with it at all. So I've been listening to that, and I probably talk about Calvinism too much. I actually mention it in like everything, but I wanted to say that I've been writing some prisoners. I just started taking that up again, because before I wrote some people that I knew in prison, and we had some good dialogue. And one friend I thought I was actually getting along with, sending him books about the Bible, and I actually sent him a Bible. And even some people have donated before to help to do that, to send Bibles to inmates and stuff. And they can probably get Bibles for free and stuff there, but I mean, like, it was like some nice study Bibles that were like color coded and stuff. I thought they were really cool and helpful, and it's nice just for inmates just to get gifts and something different anyway. But I had some correspondence for a while, and I know that the guys that I wrote appreciated it, and I've seen some of them when they got out, and they told me they appreciated it and whatnot. because generally people don't like to write, even if, it doesn't mean that your friends and family don't love you if you're in a situation like that, but people just don't like to write letters. And they have a lot of options now. You can also do emails, and they've always been able to call people. But I have kind of a passion for things like this because I've been in jail myself. I've never been to prison, but I've been to jail, and I've been to rehab for 4.5 months. That was an inpatient thing, so I was away, from where I live. I was away from my family and friends. A totally different experience around people, a particular schedule that we had to go by, and I wrote some people, when I was in rehab, and it helped me a lot, and so I know how nice it is, and the people that I wrote to, they didn't write me out of the blue. I wrote them out of the blue because I wanted somebody to write me, and luckily they did, and it helped me. And so I've reached out to a lot of people just within the last week or two. There's one old friend who I mentioned that I thought was getting along really good in the faith and stuff, and now it seems kind of doubtful. That he got out of prison, he went back into prison, and he sent me a letter back. He was grateful that I wrote him, and he didn't really mention much about the faith. I mentioned it a little bit in my letter to him. I kind of asked him, if he's still a believer and stuff. And even though I'm sure if I drilled on him harder on it, he'd probably say that he is. But from his letters, some of the stuff that he was telling me, I didn't agree with. And it kind of makes me question, where his mind is. And this guy has a daughter and stuff. And so it's really kind of bothersome. But anyway, I'm writing him again, see how that's going to go. And I don't want to be as pushy with these people as the gospel as I was last time. There were literally some letters that I wrote to some inmates last time where I was like, you need to repent right now, you need to get right with God. And some people might think, that's good or bad, either way. Or, how could it possibly be bad? But, I think you can be too pushy sometimes, and maybe some of my letters before were too, too strong on repentance, maybe. I don't know. But I do want to share my faith with these people. And so I'm writing my old friend who I wrote before. I'm writing another acquaintance who I was in jail with at one time, who I wrote before, who was in prison and got back out and came back in. And that's the thing that I'm seeing too, is a lot of people get institutionalized, or they get out on parole and they end up busting, breaking their parole, and they get back. And so they get back in, and it's just this endless cycle, and it's really sad. So I pray that this cycle will break for these people, that something will happen, and hopefully it's through a letter of mine. Hopefully, the gospel speaks to them. But hopefully they're receptive of it. Okay, but anyway, I'm writing a lot of customers from my job too, who are like regulars, and I don't even know if I would even say they're acquaintances, but I've seen them so much, and we kind of maybe chit-chat a little, or they probably know who I am, and I've seen a lot of people in the town that I live in go to jail and go to prison, and so it's became to where there's like a handful of them in prison now for like a year or two. And most of it, if not all of it, has to do with drugs. And, a lot of it has to deal with meth. And, some of it maybe with marijuana or selling marijuana or something. Which marijuana is going to be legal in January in the state of Illinois. Which I'm not really looking forward to, but that's the way it's going to be. But yeah, they're mostly in there for, non-violent drug charges or whatever, and that's something that I can kind of relate to too. I've had those issues in the past, and so my heart goes out to that. But I've also written some complete strangers on a website called Write a Prisoner, and if any of you guys are interested in having pen pals, you can go to Write a Prisoner, and you can search for men or women. You can look by whatever age range you want to go to, whatever state you want to look in, and then you can look them up in the directory of your state or whatever, wherever they are, and you can see that they're actually in there, and see when they get paroled, what they're in there for, and everything else. So it's a pretty cool website. So I'm going to see if some people are going to write me back from there. So I don't know how many people I've written to total now, maybe like 10 people or so. I'd really like to get some pen pals. So the first one to write me back, like pretty much instantly, was my old friend who I've wrote from before, who knows me, the most. So that's pretty obvious. I'm glad that he decided to write me back. He didn't have to, but he wanted to. So not everything that he wrote me was bad. There's some good things. He talked about how he's getting an education. He's learning HTML, like coding for websites and stuff, which is pretty cool. And anyway, after that, one of the, actually a couple of the customers that I've seen have now written me back as well. So I'm glad that it took a little while, over a week, to get some replies, which isn't a long time, but for a while I was wondering if anybody was going to write me back. But now they're starting to come in, so it's cool. So a lot of them are in there for a year, some of them are in there for a couple of years, and there's maybe one that's in there for maybe a good 3 to 4 years, but they're all pretty short term. So that's just the thing that I'm personally doing, and I'm going to be praying for each one of them, praying for their protection. I know how stupid it is in prison, that how on edge everybody is, and you can get in a fight for anything if somebody just looks at you wrong. I was actually in a bad mood one time in jail, and I don't even remember why, but I was in there with one guy who was in there for a DUI. He actually killed his buddy in a car accident. It was really sad. But he was on crutches, and so he had to be like alone for a long time. But I was like the first person who they put into a cell with him, and it was like a cell. We weren't in the same. We didn't like have bunk beds or anything, but we were in the same cell, and it was only us two, which was kind of neat. But but just one day I was just in a bad mood, and he shook his finger at me or something, and I was like, "Don't shake your finger at me." I don't know why. But then he told one of the jail guards, and one of the guards who is pretty popular at this jail, and he's a pretty cool guy. He has like a hook for a hand, and he told him, he's like, "Don't shake your finger at him," or whatever, or I shook my finger at him, and he got mad, and that jailer was like, "What if I shake my hook at him," or whatever. And that kind of cracked me up. It kind of lightened my mood, so I was like, okay, whatever. But yeah, just being living with anybody, inside of jail or outside of jail, just relationships in general, you're going to get on each other's nerves. But jail is a much more enclosed place, people aren't happy there, and so it's even more, everybody's at each other's throats. So I just wanted to share that personally, that I'm writing those letters, and so that's kind of a project for me, and it's something for me to look forward to, and to get to know people, and to keep me busy. But of course I'm going to share my faith and stuff, and so that's a big part of it as well. And I would eventually probably like to send some of these people Bibles and stuff like that around Christmas time or something. I'll do that. But anyway, doing that, and there's that Write a Prisoner website. If any of you guys are interested in having pen pals, it's something I enjoy, so it's not for everybody. But anyway, and I was thinking, I wanted to do a prayer video for these guys, and I might do that some other time. I was thinking of also, concerning the matter of prison, I was thinking about like Jeffrey Epstein, how that's like a huge deal now in the news. This billionaire pedophile guy, basically, who was with underage girls, like the age of 13 or so, and paying girls to sleep with them and all kinds of crazy stuff. That's been known for a long time, but apparently he's busted now, and he's gonna rot in prison the rest of his life. And I was just thinking about just praying for justice in this situation, that he does serve the just amount of time, and also just praying that more people will be exposed in this, that maybe he'll give up names and stuff, they'll find out more, and whoever's involved in all this sick crap will just get arrested, and whatever the punishment is due for them. So those are my prayers for that situation. And I was just thinking about how sick people are, and I don't think that we should hate them, but I do think it's perfectly biblical to pray for justice. And I would like to look for maybe examples of that too. I'm sure there are examples in the Bible, but God gave us the lawmakers and stuff, and so they make the laws and they choose. He gave us judges and everything. But yeah. So anyway, I don't really know what I'm going to be looking at now. So it might take me a few more days to really figure out what I'm doing. I mean, I do want to look more into Acts and get back to Romans 11 and whatever else. But right now I'm just kind of like all over the place. So also I've been having a lot of sinus issues lately. Took some Claritin, which usually helps, and it has helped. I mean, I'm fine now, but I think it's maybe because of dust in my apartment. But it's been really hot lately here too, in Illinois. I don't know if the season has anything to do with it, but I don't know. Thinking about trying some like nasal spray. I've never tried that, but I've always had allergies. But yeah, there's just some days where I just like feel like not really doing much, because I just don't even feel right. But that all being said, overall everything's good and I can't complain at all. So but that's about it. So I'm going to try to also I've been making more videos. Well, not really a lot actually, but just the other day I made some videos on my One True Misfit channel, where I do like movie reviews and video game reviews and stuff. Then I'm mentioning this because I recently got a movie, The Last Temptation of Christ, the Criterion Collection, and it's I think Oliver Stone made that, or is it Martin Scorsese? It's Martin Scorsese, I think. Sorry, he was a director, and I guess he's like a Catholic or something. But Peter Gabriel did the music, which I think is interesting. That 80s star, and also I think William Dafoe plays Jesus, which is pretty kind of odd, but I think William Dafoe's a good actor. I don't know how he is as Jesus, but I haven't watched that yet, but I'm very interested. From what I've read about it, it's supposed to focus on the humanity of Christ, and I don't know how biblical it is. I'm sure that it's not all biblical, but it might not be so far off either. I don't know. I know it focuses on like the temptations that he had and stuff like that, and but I'm mentioning this because I'm really interested, and I need to watch that. But there's so many other movies about the life of Jesus. Obviously, The Passion's a very popular one, and I really like that one. Yeah, there might be some issues here or there. Mel Gibson was like a Catholic too, and so it's kind of based on some Catholicism beliefs maybe. But generally, I think it's a pretty good movie. But there's, like I said, there's other ones that I'm interested in. I don't know if anybody's seen them, but there's like The King of Kings is an older one. It's supposed to be a really great movie about Jesus. Then there's the Jesus of Nazareth series. I'm really interested in that too. There's probably others that I can't think of right now, but those are some of the main ones. And so when I do watch those, maybe I'll do a review and put it on both channels, because they do have to do with Christianity, so maybe I'll put that on here too. But alright, I think I've rambled on for long enough. I don't know what I'm doing next as far as studies or whatever, but I'll get something out soon. So God bless, guys.